Welcome to Inside New Albany Football with Coach Cody Stubblefield. I'm Jody Walls.
I'm Brady Brock.
We're with Gumtree Mortgage here in New Albany over on Starling Avenue. We specialize in home financing needs, whether it's a purchase, a refinance, or a new construction.
And we're super passionate about trying to help you find the home of your dreams, help you get it financed, just like this one right here.
Go Dogs.
Go Dogs.
Come out, hit them in the mouth from the first play, we're going to be fine.
Welcome to Season 3 of Inside New Albany High School Football with Coach Cody Stubblefield. I'm Robert Garrett, Mr. Paul Henry. I can't believe we made it through 3 seasons, or starting our 3rd season. I remember when Mr. Henry had the idea to do this. This is kind of fun to do, and so we hope you all enjoy it. We also want to call out our sponsors, our site sponsor, where we're filming the show from, State Farm Insurance, Mr. Wally Morgan, and also Gumtree Mortgage. Coach Stubblefield, you want to talk about Gumtree and who's there?
Yeah, right next door, Gumtree Mortgage, Jody Walls, Brady Brock. They do a tremendous job along with Wally Morgan. These gentlemen have been the sponsors for the 2nd and 3rd year in a row, I believe. They've been a few men that support the program, and we appreciate what they do for us.
Yeah, I just can't do it without your sponsors, can you, Mr.
Yeah, that's one thing you can say about New Albany. You know, we have a tremendous amount of support, and we can't do a lot of this without those support.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so the way we're going to do this show today is we're going to talk a little bit about this year's starters and some of the role players that will be playing and who will be on the field. So when you're at the game, you'll know who each player is and what position they're at. Then we'll go to break and bring a special guest on to talk about middle school football in New Albany. And also then after that, we'll talk about this week's coming game. Who are we playing this week?
East Union.
So we'll give all right, in county rivalry right from the get-go. So we'll talk about the East Union game at the end. So first, Coach, let's talk a little bit about your offense. You've had some changes from last year. Tell us a little bit about your offense. Walk us through each individual position, if you don't care.
So, like you said, we've got a pretty good mix of experienced guys coming back with some young guys up front. First off, we've got a new quarterback, Braden Shettles, is the 9th grader. We're really excited about Braden, what he can bring to the table, extending plays with his feet, throwing the ball with his arm. Then up front, we've got the left side from our left to right. Our left tackle is Ethan Cathy. Ethan played every game last year, was a starter all season for us. At left guard, Peyton Rogers. Peyton's a senior, has played some D-line in the past, transitioning this year to the offensive line. At center, we have Ethan Conley. Ethan's coming back. He's been playing a lot. He's a junior. On the right side, we've got 2 seniors. Right guard is Matthew Harris. And then at right tackle is Patrick Gibbs. Patrick played a lot last year, played left side. We've kind of flipped them over, and they're on the right side now. So quarterback line, Cody Atkinson is back again at running back. Him and Keelan Simpson will both be there. They'll swap in and out. Both of those guys will take a lot of reps at the running back position. And then receivers, we typically run a spread offense, so we have four receivers out there. Our X is Caleb Shumpert. Our A is Caleb Shaw. S is Zach Clay, and then our Z is Jeb Bolin. So those are our 4 starters. Of course, we got some other guys that roll in. Jarrell Bolin will play some slot. DJ Robinson will play some slot. McKylan Cameron will also swap in and out of that wide-out position. So a lot of different guys are rolling there. But
one thing good, I'm hearing a lot of similar names from the past couple seasons, right? That experience and all. I know we've got a good mix of young kids coming up, but also we're seeing a little experience come into play, after a couple of years there with those kids. Cause
returning players, yeah.
Yeah, quite a few of those guys. Caleb Shaw was a playmaker for us last year. Cody Atkinson's been around for a long time. Played a lot as a sophomore. And is now a senior. So Keelan Simpson's got a whole year under his belt. Some of those offensive linemen up there have experience. So we're juniors and seniors across the board up front. A lot of experience there for sure.
Well, what every fan wants to know is with a 9th grade quarterback, and I know towards the end of the season he got a few snaps in games, but with a ninth grade quarterback, how quick's he picking up the offense?
Braden's the biggest thing I can say about Braden is his work ethic. Every day he's throwing the ball. He's going in at 6 o'clock, shooting basketball, throwing some after going to football practice, lifting weights. Afterwards, he's throwing again. He carries the game ball bag home with him at night, and I have to tell him, you're wearing out the game balls. We only order so many.
That's a good problem to have.
So he's literally wearing them out. So his work ethic is great. He's studying film. He's picking stuff up really well. A typical guy that's not putting the work that Braden would or is, you might worry about. So, but the way he's doing, the way he's working, putting in the extra work, we're excited about him. He's certainly capable athletically, and then so to be mentally smart and to be ahead with what he's doing, putting in the extra time, we think he's going to be fine.
Yeah, I was watching a little bit of practice the other day. He's got a real good loose arm when he lets go of the ball. His arm's not stiff, it's real loose, and he has a live arm. It looks like he's pretty accurate.
Yeah, we were talking about me and Coach Robbins. Dennis Robbins is doing the quarterbacks this year. Talked about it, just the strong arm that he's got for a ninth grader. And, of course, he's supposed to be a 10th grader, held back, so he's got all 4 years to play. But we're really excited what Braden can do for us down the road.
I know the other night in our jamboree, we had some flashes there where it looked real good. And then we're always going to have some mistakes with a young quarterback, but – also having that leadership under center and those other guys to kind of lean on from that quarterback position.
Yeah, like I said, those juniors and seniors up front on the offensive line, they're there. They calm him down between plays. Cody Atkins is right beside him, but, Braden's already telling those skill guys what to do. He knows we call the play. He knows what every one of them are supposed to do. So we feel really good about that. But those older guys up front are definitely a calming force up there, though. So we have a high expectation for that O-line as well.
Well, and you just saying what you just said about him, the system, and kind of getting people in position, that's key. And a young quarterback, that's tough.
Yeah. Well, like I said, it all goes back to the time he puts in, whether it's sitting down after practice with me and Coach Robbins, whether it's watching film, whether it's throwing those extra balls. He does a lot to prepare himself. We try to keep things as simple as we can. We want to be really effective at a few things and then grow off that. But we haven't really had to slow down a whole lot for him. He's picked things up really well.
Well, from last season, the one or two games that he played, and then the spring game, what have you seen that progression in him that's changed and improved?
I think confidence, as you pick it up. Last year he played as the 8th grade quarterback. They had a really good year at the end of their season. He came up with the high school, finished the season with us, played a little bit against against South Pontotoc. Did a good job, but he's still learning. It also helped that 8th grade offense did a lot of things that we do, so that helped that process. But since that season ended, the expectation was for him to be the quarterback. We had a good sense that he was going to be the guy. So all through spring he was getting those reps. We were preparing him for that spot, and he's taken it and ran with it. Got
it. So now let's talk a little bit about your defense. I know that a lot of guys. Did you have some turnover in guys that graduated, or how many of your guys that are on the defense are returning?
We've got several back. We lost some linebackers. Linebackers is a spot we're trying to kind of make sure we kind of get the right people in place. We've also had some injuries there. So again, we've got some guys that have been there, but we've got some new guys that are young guys that we're excited about as well.
And so what about, I know Mr. Henry was excited about over the last 2 years the middle school line that was coming up. And then they showed up and they look quite large to me. It looks like a big group of kids. How many of them are going to play as ninth graders on offense and defensive line? And do you see a difference in what you're able to do because of them?
Yeah, well, a lot of those big guys he's talking about are offensive linemen. They're not quite factoring in as much yet, but they're playing a lot of JV games. They're getting reps in practice. Jackson Howard is one of those young men. You'll see Jackson on the offensive line and the defensive line getting some work. On the defensive line, though, we've got a young man named Emmanuel Tucker. He didn't play 8th grade last year. But he is a 9th grader this year. Emmanuel's 6'5", 270, is going to be a really good guy up there for us at defensive line for a long time.
Yeah, Emmanuel's one of those guys that I think when he walks in a room, everybody kind of gets excited about him.
Yeah, to go along with Emmanuel, we've got another sophomore, Jaden Hicks. He's been a guy that played some last year, another really talented young man up front. So, and then we kind of rounded out with some experience. Montavio Sullivan will be the nose for us. So there's three, a freshman, a sophomore, and a senior that's going to start for us up front. So some youth that we're really excited about there.
Well, I know you said the word injury, right? It's awful early in the season to be talking about injuries, but you've had some key guys go down already, have you not?
Yeah, we've had a few. Cortland Earl is a starting safety from us from a year ago. He broke his wrist during 7-on-7, so he's hoping to get him back pretty soon. Not sure yet. And then in camp this year, before we started actually even putting on pads, Drew Hobson had an injury, so Drew's out for a little while. We're hoping that maybe towards the end of the year we get Drew back, but Drew's starting inside linebacker. Cortland Earl's a starting safety for us, so those are two guys that we're definitely going to miss, but hopefully get them back.
So before we move away from defense, is there anything else that we hadn't highlighted?
Yeah, Jarrell Bowling is probably one of our leaders up there. He's been a guy that's played. He's a senior this year. He starts at outside linebacker. He's a guy that's played since a sophomore, and when he came in, you never fell off. I mean, he's always been a really good guy, leader for us. He's fast, strong. He does a tremendous job, so he's going to be one of those outside linebackers. The other outside linebacker, Keelan Simpson, is an athlete that you'll see there. And then inside, we've got some new guys. We've got one of them is a freshman. Parker Skinner is going to kind of start this week due to some of those injuries and whatnot, but Parker's a young man, a tough kid, gets after it. And then our other starter inside is Jack Keener. So Jack, this will be his first season start. It's been mixing it up a lot. And then we've got Zane Chapman. Zane's a senior that's played inside, played outside. We'll transition all through it. So we've kind of got 5 key guys there that play those 4 positions.
Well, I know one thing we're waiting for. We're waiting for a good Trent Hammond dance at the end of the game, aren't we?
Yeah,
we're always looking for one of those videos, right?
Either Trent dancing or tickling Coach Murphy, one of the two. Something good's going to happen. Those are always good.
It's good to have good camaraderie with your coaching staff.
Yep.
So that's offense, defense. Talk a little bit about some highlights on your special teams.
Yeah, well, let me go back to the secondary first. Didn't quite finish the defense.
Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
A lot of those guys played last year young. We had a true freshman last year, DJ Robinson, played safety all year. He'll be back at safety. To go along with him, we talked about Cortland Earl being out. Jeb Bolin has stepped in as the other starting safety for us. And then at corner, 2 guys that played a lot last year, Cody Atkinson and Caleb Shaw. So, and then there's some backups there. McCollin Cameron will factor in. Caleb Shumper will factor in. So, again, a good mix of experience and some young guys, 2 sophomores at safety for us right now.
And I'm hearing a lot of names that are brothers of players that played in the past. Like you got Jackson Howard. Those that are out there remember watching Austin Howard play on the team that went 13-1. You mentioned the Jeb Bolin.
Jeb's older brother is Loden, played quarterback for quite a while. I think he started as a 9th grader, so had 4 years of playing quarterback. He was the quarterback our first year, 5 years ago when we got here. Did a really good job at quarterback. I think we won 7 ball games that year, and a lot of it was to do with him. Braden, I think a lot the similarities between him and Braden. Both of those guys had the ability to extend plays and use their legs. So. Right.
Well, tell us about special teams. Any highlights there? Any cool stories there? Anybody you want to talk about?
The guys that kicked and punted for us last year, all those guys have moved on. We had a punter. They did a really good job for us last year. Miss Kelly, he also did some kicking for us. This year we've gone and we've gotten a senior to come out. His name is Whit Robbins. Whit's kicked before, but he's a soccer guy. He's come out as a senior. He's going to kick for us. We've also kicking off and place kicking got an 8th grader. So we've got kind of 2 extremes. Both of them are new, a senior, and then the 8th grader is Grayson Alexander. Grayson is just, kids that pick up the kicking game have a passion for it, and Grayson has just dug in there. He's worked hard. He's extremely accurate. So you're going to see both those kickers, both kicking off and field goal and extra points. And then we've got some young guys punting too. Max Sheffield is a guy that plays soccer that's a goalie. So, he sits there and punts. And then the other one is Braden Shettles, our quarterback. He'll do some things at punter too. So out of the 4 kickers, 1 senior, 2 9th graders, and an 8th grader. And we're excited about what they're already doing, but the fact that they're going to be here for a long time too.
Well, one thing's exciting too, as I'm listening to the names, right, and we're mentioning soccer players, we're mentioning they're also basketball players. So we're talking about a lot of kids are getting involved in your team. They're also involved in other sports too.
That we've talked a lot about that as the athletic director. Also, we talk a lot about kids playing multiple sports. We want guys that can help the football team, that can also help the basketball team to be able to do both. Same thing with baseball or soccer or tennis or golf, whatever the case is. It's adults' job to make sure we can kind of work it out to where those kids can benefit multiple programs.
Absolutely. You don't want them to have to pick. You want them to be able to play as many things as possible. Well, thanks so much for the personnel preview. After this break, we're going to come back and we're going to have Coach Murphy on. He's going to tell us a little bit about the middle school football, and Coach Stubblefield's also going to tell us about some of the new hires on the coaching staff. So stay with us.
Call State Farm agent Wally Morgan at 662-539-7062 today.
So welcome back to Inside New Albany High School Football with Coach Cody Stubblefield. We've also got Coach Murphy here. Coach Murphy is serving in roles at the high school and the middle school. His first coaching gig, that's a head coaching gig at New Albany Middle School, but also still serving on the high school staff. So, Coach Stubblefield, will you tell us a little bit about what Coach Murphy's doing before we ask him a question?
Yeah, this is mine and Coach Murphy's, both of our fifth year in New Albany School District. I was here previously with Coach Price and when you were here the first time, but this is our fifth year being back. Coach Murphy came in the same time. He's been a huge part of our varsity staff for the past 4 years. Some doors opened, some things happened, and Coach Murphy was able to step into a new role for us. Anytime you're looking at a middle school program, it's a huge feeder to your high school program, obviously, and it's an important role for any program, whether it's football, baseball, basketball, whatever. So he took it on and kind of jumped in, made a decision to take that job and that position, and we're extremely excited about that. This is a program that's not my program, but it's our program. It's from him to our other assistant coaches as well. So he's already done a great job. We're excited about his new role and what he can do in the future.
So still coaching at the high school, but then also taking on the head coaching role at the middle school. I coached 2 years at our middle school, and I remember when I would come visit the high school staff, a lot of times they didn't understand how hard coaching middle schoolers is. So tell us, have you had any ahas in your first little bit dealing with 7th and 8th graders and coaching them football?
So last at Christmas last year, I started getting to come over and help with off-season workouts, and I learned very quickly that they're not high school kids. So you learn that they have a lot of energy. You got to use that energy. So you don't have a lot of guys waiting in line, waiting on the next exercise. You get them moving and you get them going, and you get their feet moving fast because they want to be moving. They want to be doing things, and so that was my first aha thing. Like, hey, get the guys moving, keep them moving, get them going. If their feet are moving, their mouth aren't. They don't have any opportunity to get in trouble. So get those feet moving, get them doing something productive.
Yeah, and watching the game the other night, we played Pontotoc, right? And coming and getting to see the group, it's cool to see you, Coach Sanks, out there, because when those middle school students see you on a day-to-day basis, and then it's time for them to go from 8th to 9th grade, there's no fear factor there, right? So, Coach, did you see that part of this plan that you had, or however this worked out, did you feel like that continuity would be important?
Well, I knew what we were getting out of Coach Murphy. I knew he was a hard-working, dedicated football, passionate about young people, was a disciplined guy that knew football was going to instill a work ethic in him. But also one of our big things was not wanting him to not be a part of the high school program. So like you said, there's a continuation of his relationship with them in middle school. Now they're just going to transition over with him to the high school. So the big thing is not only preparing those guys for high school football, but also getting them to high school football. So our goal is to have as many kids out there wanting to play football as possible as 7th and 8th graders, and then those same kids also transition and play high school. So it's a numbers thing. We want a lot of kids out there, but we also want to prepare them and make sure that work ethic's there, and I know Coach Murphy's going to do all that. Yeah,
there's so many things about coaching middle school football in an environment the way that y'all are, and the continuity. Part of that's which offense you run, right? Yeah. And obviously, 7th and 8th graders don't necessarily have the skill and abilities that a senior has, nor do they fully understand the offense. So what are you doing offensively, and is it very similar to what they're going to do at the high school?
So as far as the terminology and all that, it's the exact same. The 7th grade went out today, and we're throwing that ball around because we've got a quarterback that can throw the ball around. 8th grade, we got a guy that can run it and can make the throws that we need to make. So it's the exact same terminology, the exact same offense, just looking at it from two different angles just because of the talent we have in the 7th grade versus the talent we have in the 8th grade.
Sure.
But it's still the same. Whatever he calls in the passing game, I call in the passing game. Whatever that we call in the running game at the high school, call in the running game at the middle school too. So
when they walk into Coach Doublefield, they're not having to relearn terminology, which is a big deal.
Very easy. Should be a very easy transition.
Yeah. Going to the game the other night, like you said, and I think the best coaches, they adapt what they choose to do based on what the players they have can do, right? They don't just say, well, here's what we run. We're going to run this regardless. So the way that you're talking about in 7th grade, we have different players in 8th grade is really important. It was fun watching your 7th grade quarterback because dude has a gun. I mean, he can throw it, and the ball he throws is just so pretty. Talk about him a little bit.
So
what's his name? And
Cam Ray, and he's good. And so, he's a leader. Like the first play the other night, just quick story. First play the other night, ultimately made a bad read, threw a ball over a guy's head. He gets back in the huddle, made a mistake, gets back in the huddle, said, "Guys, that last one's on me. Let's go score right here." All right. I was like, well, Cam, what you want to do right here?
Showing some leadership.
Yeah, that's right. And so, in this summer, we got out there throwing the ball around. I was telling him who to read and this, that, and the other. And I said, you know what, Cam, you got it. I'm going to get out of your way. I'm going to let you're seeing things as well as you can see them. I'm going to get out of your way. I'll correct you as you go. And he's completely taken ownership. Those guys believe in him so much. And so I'm just excited to see him continue to progress with his arm, of course, and his ability, of course, but with his leadership. They're going to follow him.
Well, and then he made some good throws. I saw Cooper Wallace, I think, got 2 interceptions in that game, and then they made a really good throw to him that he made a nice run. Talk about Cooper and then some of the other players on your offense and defense in 7th grade.
So in the 7th grade, you got Cooper Wallace had a great night. He's still learning. All those guys are learning.
But he's always been athletic.
That's right. Yeah, he's a competitor. He's athletic. But I saw immediately whenever we went and made contact that first day, I noticed how low his hips got and how well his balance was. Like, that kid's going to be able to run the football a little bit. He's going to be able to catch and run with the football. So anyway, you got Cooper Wallace, you got Lee Shaw. They call him Tank, little bitty guy. They call him Tank. They've called him Tank since he was born, from what I understand. You got basketball coach's son, Mitch Howell, who's a new hire. His son Jack Howell. He came to me. He said, "Coach, I don't know anything about football." I said, "Good. We're all."
He's a big kid. Yeah, he's a big kid.
Athletic kid.
Jack's another one we're excited about. You know what he can do for sure.
Jack Howell, and then offensive line wise, got some very aggressive kids. Show up the first week, and Coach Davis tells me, he said, we got to get these 6th graders doing something. He said they are bugging me. He said they are so excited to play football. And so got an offensive line group, and Coach Davis, man, he knocks it out of the park every day. He gets those kids that are playing a position that's not necessarily the most desirable position on the field, and they're over there jumping up, chest bumping. It's fun to watch them get after it. So.
And you talk about those 6th graders, you got to find something for to do. Shout out to Larry Ashmore. I don't know. He coached at the middle school for a long time, and he used to say that a 7th grader could tear up a crowbar. So you've got to experience that a little bit, right?
No doubt.
So that's your 7th grade. Do you want to talk a little bit about the defense on 7th grade before we move to 8th grade?
So we flipped the ball over on defense, and that's a lot. Some of those offensive linemen turn around and play. We've got 2 offensive linemen that actually turn around and play inside linebacker. Jack Howell plays outside linebacker. Then we have some other guys that rotate at the other outside linebacker. Will Hardy starts it, and then we have some other guys that rotate. Will Hardy can go inside and outside. Got some defensive linemen that are defensive line only. One of them's out. He just got his gallbladder taken out, so he'll be back in a couple of weeks. Landon March and Justice Clark, they're defensive line only, and then we rotate a nose guard in there. And then the skill guys that are playing receiver, they turn around right back over and play cornerback and safety, and they do a good job. Cooper Wallace, once again, had a really good game.
Yeah, he did.
You know, Murphy, you got a few guys in the 8th grade that we're excited about for the future too. Some skill guys specifically. That quarterback, running back, Cameron Knox's younger brother. And so tell us about those 8th graders.
8th grade. So we got Jay Boone playing quarterback, and he's just a competitor. He's smart. He gets it. He picks up on things really quick. And what we're doing with him is making reads, and he makes those reads quick. He sees it well, makes a good decision, and he can make the throws that we're asking him to make. Kylan Knox he plays running back for us, can also bump out to slot. He's Cameron Knox's younger brother. and he's got a special talent, got really good hips.
That's for those that don't know, Cameron's at Southern Miss right now, a freshman year at Southern Miss,
Yes.
so a Division I player.
Yes, and then on the at wideout, Austin Coleman, big body. Saw him the first day I saw him. I said, "Son, you got something in your hips that other people don't have." And so I, saw that in him immediately, that he could jump a little bit better than everybody else. He's got a little bit more spring in his step than everybody else. And just like Kylan, Xavier Coleman, tons of energy. He helps us out on the sidelines on Friday nights. Kids love him. He's just kind of the kid that everybody gravitates around. And he can do good things if he gets the ball.
You're going to know when he's there. I mean, he's not sneaking up on you. I mean, he's he is around. He's vocal. He's loud, but full of energy, plenty of confidence.
Lots of confidence.
But got after and did some good things the other night.
We do love him. And so on the defensive side of the ball, we're fortunate that we really don't use a lot of guys both ways. So we have a safety, Cohen Young. He plays pretty much defense only. Did a great job at safety the other night. Got our defensive line. They play defense line only. Jaden Foster, huge kid. He plays defensive lines. And Tavius High plays defensive line. And of course we rotate guys, but those offensive line guys, they were Coach Davis for 45 minutes. We get 45 minutes with them. They were Coach Davis doing offensive line drills for 45 minutes. That's good.
And one thing with that group, like you said, you don't have too many guys playing both ways, but it's not a big group either. How many are in the 8th grade?
Total, I think 20 right, high 20s. I think it's like
so
28.
A little bit less than we would like to have, but at the same time, a lot of those guys are playing. So, and that's exciting.
Everybody played the other night, and it was not to get guys in. It was out of necessity. We needed that guy in at that moment, and he got on the field and did his job.
One of the things we talked about during the game, you talked about running inside zone to a 3 technique and trying to get there and stuff. And so we talked about Drew making an adjustment on the line there. They did that. One of the things I was impressed with was 7th graders, some of the holes they were running through, and then they transitioned to the 8th grade. So Drew's a guy that's been doing junior high football for a while. He comes over every afternoon with the high school. He's a community guy that played here. So Drew helps tremendously with Coach Murphy's staff. He's got a couple other guys that help him as well. Sean Sanks is a guy that I think Sean's calling the defense for some. And Sean's another high school coach that coaches linebackers for the high school and then does the defense for the junior high. So that helps that transition as well. And then you got a new guy helping you also.
Khalil Patterson coming in helping us. He's mainly focused with receivers. But he takes a lot of initiative and jumps in wherever he needs to, But whenever when it's time to do receiver drills, he hops in with them and does a good job there.
Well, Coach, your dad was a long-time legendary coach. How much has his impact on you impacted what you're doing now that you're kind of the guy making the decisions?
Yeah. So whenever and I've told him this too. One thing that he told me when I first started coaching, kind of gives me chills thinking about it. So I told him I was going to coach. Made up my mind. I said, and he came back. He said, "Son, be you." He said, "Don't try to be Nick Saban. Don't try to be some hero coach of yours. You got to be you." And so I try to stay pretty true to that. I see what other coaches are done, see what makes them successful. But I can't. I'm not going to be Trent Hammond. I'm not going to be, Cody Stubblefield. I've got to be who I am deep down in my heart. And so that's one of the things that I feel like I can hang on to my dad forever. So I really appreciate him telling me that.
Yeah, that's good stuff. Well, thanks so much for being here with us.
Appreciate it.
After this break, we'll come back with Mr. Henry, and we'll talk about this week's opponent, East Union. Stay with us.
Call State Farm agent Wally Morgan at 662-539-7062 today.
Yeah, Coach Stubblefield, one thing I've heard through the whole show tonight is, we've had some changes in our coaching staff, but it's almost like we're taking pieces of the puzzle and getting the right pieces in the right places, right? And I know there's been changes from top to bottom, and one thing I know you're passionate about is when you're looking at the entire program, it is a 7 through 12 program, and I know that's very important for you.
Well, as the middle school principal, you make sure we don't forget that. But no, absolutely. It is a 7 through 12 program. We want those guys to be successful all the way through. Coach Murphy's going to be a huge asset, part of that. We did lose a couple coaches last year. Jake McDonald went to West Union. Coach Kerbo's now the head coach at Myrtle. So we had an opportunity to bring some guys in. Coach Duncan left, which opened the door for Coach Murphy to go there. But with Coach Kerbo, we had a spot for offensive guy. We were looking for somebody that could come in and do running backs or quarterbacks. Started talking to Dennis Robbins. Dennis kind of helped bring me from New Albany. The first time I went with him to Lafayette. Coach Robbins served as a head coach in multiple states, in Texas and Alabama and Mississippi. He was with Pontotoc for 12 years as the head coach, was the OC at Lafayette through that run when Jeremy Liggins and those guys were winning state championships. So tremendous football mind, does a good job. Talked to him. He had some interest. It worked out. So he's going to coach Braden and our quarterbacks and will be our guy in the box for us, and is a huge asset to us. Jake McDonald left, like I said, went and to West Union. We needed a receivers coach. Taylor Good's a young man that joined the staff, played with Colin, played with Tyler Basil, played with us that first time, that 13-1 season. Is a guy that I've worn out, every year. I say, you ready to come back to New Albany? You ready to come back to New Albany? And finally he was, so he took Jake's spot at receivers, doing a really good job. Taylor's coached at DeSoto Central, Germantown, Grenada. He's also coached some soccer. But we're really excited about what Taylor brings to the table as well. So that kind of rounded out our high school staff. Like Coach Murphy said, you've got some high school guys going down to do middle school. We've also got some middle school coaches that are coming to high school every day. Drew Davis, Khalil Patterson. Those guys have been at every high school practice so far this year. So we're excited about what everybody's kind of bringing to the table. We've got a really good mix of experience and young guys, and but ultimately guys that know football, guys that care about kids and want to see New Albany successful.
Call State Farm agent Wally Morgan at 662-539-7062 today.
So with East Union this week, we played them last year. This week we're playing them away. Tell us some of their strengths on offense and defense.
Well, I think they've got some tough kids. They play hard. They try to be physical up front. They're just a blue collar, hard working football team that, if you're not careful, can give you a hard time. Offensively, they do some spread stuff, but then they come in and they do some Notre Dame box type stuff where they've got 2 H-backs, 2 tight ends, quarterback, and they're trying to pound it. It's a good test for us, coming into this first game of the year. We've got to defensively, we've got to make sure that, when they get in those heavy sets, they can't just run the ball right at us. We've got a young defensive line that we talked about. They've got to be physical and set the line of scrimmage, and those linebackers got to rally in there and make some plays. So.
Well, I know they're going to be excited. Don't they have a new head coach out there at East Union now?
Yeah, and Coach Cherry he's been the on staff with Coach Lott's staff and been at East Union for a little while, but he was named the head coach. This is his first year, like you said. They also got a longtime head coach from Oklahoma, and he's going to do a good job. I know they're excited about him. So, like you said, it's Cherry's first go around. I know he's excited, anxious to get going. And they're going to be a good football team.
So what do they do on defense? What's the front we're going to see? Is it 4-man front?
They're still, I think Stephen Basil, if I'm not mistaken, is the kind of runs the defense for them. He does a good job. He still run the same defense that kind of Coach Lott installed. It's a 3-3 stack. They've got basically 5 DBs in the game. Those edge players can be backed off where they can kind of rally into the box. But they've got a 3-3 stack with 5 DBs is kind of the set.
Yeah, when you talk about the toughness of the kids, you and I, when we were coaching in New Albany, coached with Coach Dooley, and he kind of helped to set that tone even with their weight program. Year in and year out, their weight program is real strong. How much does that make an impact on their team, you think?
Like you said, when you're physical and you're strong, I mean, it's a huge asset. Coach Dooley is still there. He still helps with football, still does powerlifting. I think Coach Dooley does girls powerlifting. Maybe Coach Cherry is the boys powerlifting coach, but he's still there. His presence is there. He's still loud.
High level of intensity.
High level of intensity. But I love Coach Dooley to death. But he definitely leaves his character and imprint in anybody that he coaches, and so those guys obviously feed off that, and so that toughness that you think about when you think about Coach Dooley, I think that's something those guys instill as well.
So we're going to see a lot of the same or a lot of different.
Offensively, there's some differences. Defensively, it's very similar. Like I said, they're still running the same sets, or according to we watched one film, so they played Pontotoc in in a jamboree like where we played Nettleton. But they were able to run it right at Pontotoc. We all know Pontotoc's a good program.
Yeah,
So,
no doubt.
You definitely take note of that. You make sure your defense is aware of that, and know that they got to come to play Friday night.
So what time's the game Friday night?
Game is 7:30. MHSA back-to-back 30 minutes
For heat?
Due to heat through September, August and September, and then in October it'll go back to 7 o'clock.
7 o'clock. All right, and then the game's also being live streamed. How can people watch that?
You go to YouTube, you search New Albany School District, and you can't miss it. It'll be one of the first ones up there, but it's under the New Albany School District YouTube page.
And then tell us the people behind the scenes on the live stream.
It's the third year to do the coaches show. I think it's the third year to do the live stream as well. Chris Russell, the journalism staff, are still doing that. Chris does a really good job. Those individual kids, where there's multiple cameras and working that switchboard and changing in commercials, like Mr. Henry talked about earlier, we've got a great community that helps with that and sponsors some of that. So you'll see their advertisement, but it's all done by Coach Russell or Mr. Russell and that journalism class. So
yeah, they do an outstanding job. We also want to thank all the sponsors for tonight's show. Obviously, our site sponsor, Wally Morgan at State Farm, and then also Gumtree Mortgage. You want to tell a little bit about Gumtree and State Farm one more time?
Again, Jody Walls, Brady Brock, they do a tremendous job at Gumtree. I know, anybody looking for it to refinance their house, Jody would love to talk to them. But again, two community guys that are here that help out with the community, and can help you out if you need them.
Well, thanks so much. Mr. Henry, go ahead.
Well, I just like to say it's an exciting time of year, right? Friday Night Lights coming to you.
Yeah,
it's always fun.
Anytime, these guys, they've been practicing since the end of the last year. The season ends, they go right into the weight room. They go through spring practice. They go into summer workouts. We're doing OTAs at the end of the summer. We start getting helmets on in practice. They've been hitting each other. They get a little bit of a taste in a jamboree. Now it's finally time. It's something that's going to matter. It's going to reflect on their record. They're excited about it. We're excited about it. Like you said, Friday Night Lights in the state of Mississippi, 7:30. It's exciting, it is. I'm anxious to see some of these young guys and some of these old guys get another chance, but we're going to get to see what we're made of and what we can do Friday night.
Yeah, we need everybody to come on the road with us this week, right?
Absolutely. It's just a little piece that way. Highway 30, you can go east, or you can get on 348. It's not terribly hard to find. You'll see the pine trees in the field in the middle of them, so we'll get after it.
All right. Well, thanks so much for being here. We appreciate you watching episode 1 this season of season 3 of Inside New Albany High School Football with Coach Cody Stubblefield. We hope you'll be with us next week, and go Bulldogs.
Go Dogs.
Wally Morgan State Farm is proud to host Coach Cody Stubblefield's New Albany Bulldog pregame show.
At Wally Morgan State Farm, family is important to us. We think of ourselves as a family and our community as a family, and nothing is more important than nurturing the youth in our community. We are super proud of Coach Stubblefield and all the work he's done for Bulldog football, and we are super excited to support him and the entire team and see what they do this season. Go Dogs!